Hello ladies and gents, welcome to CG Reaction, and this is Every State in the US by the channel Wendover Productions. Yeah, so states of USA. I know it's ridiculous to think how wide the USA is because I never thought of it before. I just recently realized it. Like, there are lots of different type of terrains just because how wide it is. It takes extremely long time, like apparently days, if you want to drive from one side to another. It's ridiculously wide. So then I realized that damn, some places are really tropical, some places are really desert. I mean, it ranges. Some places are hotter than the in here India, and some places are cold as really cold, like North Dakota and places like that. So I mean, it's ridiculous how much different terrain there are. So clearly lots of people would be different because, you know, different temperatures, weather conditions, that type of thing. That's why, you know, some people they are whiter than white, some people are red, so yeah. So it's really diverse geographical place, the United States. And I realized a lot of states in this, they were just became state, I guess, for political reasons, so you get more seats on the Senate or something. I don't know, I'm confused on that part, because something like North Dakota, South Dakota, lots of people argue there shouldn't be two Dakotas in the first place because there are not many people there and something like that. Some places are really remote and yet they are complete states. So it's ridiculous. I heard about some places, I'm not talking about states, but just some region or places where there are just 2 or 3 people. So they held their elections between two or three people. Sometimes I feel like I get it about technicalities and rules, but sometimes it goes beyond common sense. I mean, it shouldn't happen like that, but I mean, yeah. So let's watch this one. And remember, people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe so I know which type of videos to react to more, and I guess you will be supporting this channel. So let's watch this one.
This is Every State in the US by Wendover Productions and made possible by the great Courses Plus. We'll start with Alabama, the first state alphabetically. Magnolia Springs, Alabama is the only town in America to have their mail.
About Alabama, is it true that there are lots of, I guess, gun people there? Because I saw that the Top Gear special, and even their signs that says Alabama has lots of bullet holes in it. And I guess there's a stereotype of Alabama, like everybody is a gun nut or something, I don't know.
Delivered by boat. Although the longest mail delivery route in America is in rural Oklahoma, where delivery drivers have to drive 187.6 miles each day to deliver the mail to around 200 houses.
Damn.
Oklahoma's state vegetable is the watermelon, which happens to be a fruit. And Oklahoma is also home to Kansas, the town. The real Kansas, or more specifically this point, is the geographic center of the contiguous United States. What Kansas is not home to is Kansas City, which counterintuitively is in Missouri, where the population center of the US is. The average.
So Kansas town is in Oklahoma, Kansas City in Missouri, and there's a state called Kansas too. Is there a river or something called Kansas? Because that's the only thing I can make sense of. Usually something like geographical things like rivers or something that is famous and, you know, important rivers, that could cause places to call themselves after it. Or maybe some, the Native American grounds, people do name after that. I don't know. Because otherwise it doesn't even make sense that why it's so like that.
Location of every American. Missouri borders 8 states and is therefore tied with Tennessee as the state that borders the most other states. Tennessee was a southern state that seceded from the United States and joined the Confederacy, except for Scott County, which seceded from Tennessee and formed the unrecognized independent state. Scott County didn't actually officially rejoin Tennessee until 1986. Tennessee's western border was originally defined by the course of the Mississippi River, which has since changed course, which has led to all these enclaves and exclaves of the 2 states on the 2 sides of the river. The Arkansas River, a major tributary of the Mississippi, begins all the way in Colorado, where nobody's entirely sure which mountain is the tallest, Mount Elbert or Mount Massive, since their heights are within 10 feet of each other, and people keep building piles of rocks on the summits to make one mountain taller than the other. Colorado is also...
Why would you... I mean, why would people care about any mountain so much that they're actually trying to rig it? I mean, just put rocks, so this is the tallest mountain. There are fans of mountains too. There are certain people who are fan of Mount Massive, so they're like, this must be, because why? It has word massive in it. So I'm like, this is Mount Albert, because my cousin is named Albert. I'm gonna make sure this mountain is tallest.
also home to America's longest continuous street, Colfax Avenue in Denver, at 26 miles long. But the shortest individually named street in America is reportedly McKinley Street in Bellefontaine, Ohio, at a mere 28 feet long. Ohio
in India, it's, areas are not like, this street wise in this sense. I mean, obviously there are streets, but nobody puts as emphasis on them as they do in America, I guess, because that made clear to me when I played the game called Sinking City. I think it's an indie game, it's not a AAA game, but it was awesome game. In that I had to navigate using the map and the street, so between these two streets, and I had to navigate it like that. I loved it. It was complex, but yeah, that put emphasis on how much Americans follow the streets system by roads like that.
Ohio's northernmost point is actually north of Canada's southernmost point, Pelee Island. Pelee Island, Canada, in fact, is farther south than parts of 27 states, including California, which as a state has a higher population than the entire country of Canada. Los Angeles, California, despite being...
Whoa. Canada only has 35 million people in it? So what, mostly Canada is empty? I didn't know that, man. I saw the gigantic Canada. I'm like, they must have at least, I don't know, over 200 millions at least, since America has 3 to 400 million. So Canada is not, even though it's a geographically big place, it's not that big of a country. It's just 30-40 million people, huh? Damn.
Being on the Pacific Ocean is east of 6 state capitals, including Nevada. Nevada has the point in the entire United States where you're farthest from a McDonald's, only 116 miles. Although
that would make sense. Isn't Nevada mostly desert? Like, around like Nevada desert? Isn't that's mostly that? I don't know. I'm not so sure, but whenever I see anything about Nevada, it's always somehow desert, Las Vegas, some towns that are surrounded by desert or something like that.
Nevada is not the state with the fewest McDonald's. That title goes to the state with 29 McDonald's, North Dakota, which according to some legal experts wasn't technically a state until 2012, since their constitution was missing this sentence, which meant it didn't fulfill the federal requirement.
Okay, so because of technicality, they weren't technically a state until 2012, huh? That is something. I mean, North Dakota is also mostly, empty, isn't it? There are not many people there, I'm pretty sure. I guess city of Fargo is from there because I've seen the movies and even TV shows of that. So I heard that they even have some kind of exhibit about the movie like this, so yeah, I mean, it's mostly covered in snow all the time, right?
For statehood. Despite having the fewest McDonald's, North Dakota is not America's least populated state.
What?
That's Wyoming, which has 2 sets of escalators in the entire state. Wyoming is well known for hosting Yellowstone National Park, although a bit of it spills over into Idaho. Though in this...
Wait a minute, Wyoming is the least populated place? Why? It's not even covered in snow or anything. Why is that so least covered? I mean, a super volcano is from there apparently, Yellowstone. I didn't know that. Wyoming, I never thought that would be... I heard about Wyoming a lot of times, but I never thought that would be the least populated US state.
Section, you can get away with murder. You see, with the 6th Amendment, if you're placed on trial, it's required that you are judged by a jury of your peers, which means individuals from the same state and federal district as where the crime was committed. Yellowstone is its own federal district, meaning you need residents from Yellowstone to be on the jury. Although if you were in the Idaho part, you need Yellowstone residents from Idaho to be on the jury. Except this 50 square mile section is entirely uninhabited, so they wouldn't be able to form a jury, which means you'd walk free. There's also one single road.
I don't think when it comes to murder like that, they will go with that level of technicalities. I mean, in law, I'm pretty sure people lead by previous examples. So a new precedent can be set every time. Like if there is a case that is weird like that, and if judge feels necessary to see some other way, like yeah, even though it's technically there are no people, but I'm going to take people from Idaho, and that's going to set precedent for future cases that resemble something like that. So I'm pretty sure they would not just like, oh yeah, but it's pretty sure you committed a murder, but since there are no jury here, I guess you walk free. I don't think they would do that.
Road connecting the entire southern section of Idaho to the northern section. Idaho, with its fairly low population, has one single telephone area code for the whole state, just like neighboring Montana. Montana is home to the least busy commercial airport in the US, Dawson Community Airport. at 4,000 passengers per year, or about 11 per day. Missoula, Montana is also home to the warehouse of DFTBA, where you can buy one of these, a Wendover Productions t-shirts, for only $20. The link is in the description. The busiest airport in America is Atlanta's, at 49 million passengers per year, or 135,000 per day. Peachtree, a suburb of Atlanta, is a community that...
Why Atlanta? I thought, it could be either New York or California, Los Angeles, since that's one of the most famous places of the entire United States. But the most busy airport is of Atlanta, or why? Why is that so busy?
That has 90 miles of golf cart specific roads adjacent to its normal roads, since 9,000 families here have golf carts as their second cars. Kids are even encouraged to drive to school from the age of 12 in their golf carts. Georgia, or more specifically Springer Mountain, Georgia, is the start to the 2,200-mile-long Appalachian Trail, which is a hiking trail that terminates all the way up at Mount Katahdin, Maine. Maine is the only state in America to only...
Wait a second, go back.
...to the 2,200-mile-long Appalachian Trail.
Okay, this might sound stupid, but does the mountains, some range of mountains starts from there to all the way there? Is that why it's starts from there? I don't know. I'm confused by this. Appalachian Trail must mean the mountain starts from there all the way to there, huh? I've heard of Appalachian Trail because of the game Fallout 76, but yeah.
Which is a hiking trail that terminates all the way up at Mount Katahdin.
So mountains are continuous from there to there, huh? Damn.
Maine. Maine is the only state in America to only border one other state, and it's also the closest state to Africa. Seriously, it's closer than Florida. The second closest state to Africa is Massachusetts, or more specifically Cape Cod, Massachusetts, which is technically an island, since a man-made canal separates it from the mainland. Massachusetts is actually farther from Miami than Panama City is. And Miami is closer to the country capitals of Nassau, Bahama, and Havana, Cuba than its own state capital, Tallahassee. Florida has the lowest highest point of any state, 312 feet, 23 times lower than South.
What about Florida? Okay, before I say anything, as it's not clear already, I don't know much about states and the United States local things. So if I get something wrong, don't come after me with pitchforks or something, because it's only things that I heard. It could be stereotypes, I don't know. But about Florida, is that true that lots of crazy shit happen there? Because whenever something really crazy happens, they're like, is that person from Florida? Yeah, it's from Florida. Of course it's from Florida. I mean, what's that about? And, about alligators. Do they roam around that freely? I mean, people always make joke about that. And I heard lots of cases about alligator attack here and there. It's that big of an issue? Or is this just like any stereotype? It's not like that.
South Dakota's highest point. South Dakota is home to the geographic center of the entire United States, if you include Alaska and Hawaii, and it was made a state a mere 9 days before Washington, which was called Columbia before it became a state.
That's Washington? What about Washington, D.C.? Obviously, Washington, D.C. is a city, but isn't that a state too? I don't know. I didn't know that there's a Washington, another state like that. Damn, what the hell? I thought I would knew any state I would hear, I would know about it, but apparently not. And what else did what state was it? South Dakota, yeah. South Dakota, North Dakota, nobody really thought about them much, but pretty recently, I guess, there was a oil reserves that somebody found in South Dakota, and apparently now that's a really focus of everything. Is that it? Because I'm pretty sure I heard that there is big reserves of oil they found under South Dakota.
Its name was changed as to not confuse it with the District of Columbia, but obviously that didn't work out, since D.C. City ended up being called Washington. Washington Place is the official residence of Hawaii's governor, and Hawaii was given its own unique currency during World War II that was its only legal tender, so that, in case the Japanese successfully invaded Hawaii, the federal government could declare all of Hawaii's currency worthless to prevent the Japanese from using it. The closest state to Hawaii is Alaska, whose capital, Juneau, has no roads connecting it with the rest of Alaska or North America, meaning you can't drive in or out. Alaska is also one of the 4 states that completely bans outdoor billboards, along with Hawaii.
That's all Alaska, all the way here? Even these islands are? And that's Russia. Look at how close it is. God damn.
Maine, and Vermont, whose tallest building is only 11 stories tall. That's the shortest, tallest building of any state. The tallest building in the states is Freedom.
That's it. I live in India, and in one of the cities that nobody even hears about. It's one of the famous cities, and we have taller buildings than that. But then again, India has lots of population, so it shouldn't be surprising.
Tower in New York. New York is home to Ellis Island, or at least part of it. Their territory is completely surrounded by New Jersey, similar to Liberty Island, home to the Statue of Liberty, which is completely surrounded by New Jersey waters, which means you need to travel through New Jersey to get from New York to New York. Clinton Road in West Milford, New Jersey has America's longest red light, a full 5-minute wait. New Jersey actually goes surprisingly far south, farther south than Kentucky's northernmost point. In its southwest corner, Kentucky has a rather large piece of territory that's not actually connected to the rest of Kentucky. Kentucky was the birthplace of Lincoln, who was later elected to the Illinois House of Representatives, and in Illinois is the original Burger King. But it's not the Burger King you're thinking of. This Burger King existed before this Burger King, and therefore sued Burger King when they came to Illinois for trademark infringement and won. So now no Burger King is allowed to operate within a 20-mile radius of this original Burger King. Chicago.
Wait a minute, I'm surprised they just sued for the name inside their own state and not the whole thing. Like, you can't name yourself Burger King because we exist anywhere. Because I remember the WWF thing, that panda charity thing that's called WWF. They sued WWF and they had to change the name, even though those two things are even not remotely similar. One is an entertainment, one is charity type of thing, but still. So I'm surprised they didn't sue them saying that you can name your chain Burger King because we exist.
Chicago, Illinois, America's third largest city, is just a tad bit larger than the fourth largest city, Houston, Texas. And Texas is so enormous that El Paso, Texas is closer to Los Angeles than it is to Houston, Texas. Texas's northernmost point is also closer to Michigan than it is to its southernmost point. From Detroit, Michigan, you actually end up in Canada if you travel due south. And Michigan is the only state to be made of two entirely separated sections. Michigan's Highway 185 is actually a bike path, making it the only official highway in America where cars are banned. Michigan's Upper Peninsula is also only connected by land to Wisconsin, which is home to the Green Bay Packers, a team so popular that the waiting list for season tickets is 30 years long. It's so long that it's common for parents to put their kid's name on the list as soon as they're born. In Watertown, Wisconsin is
What did I just hear? Go back.
by land to Wisconsin, which is home to the Green Bay Packers, a team so popular that the waiting list for season tickets is 30 years long.
So Green Bay Packers, that means that is the biggest team of NFL, is that it? That doesn't make sense. Isn't the teams like Patriots or somebody, they are really bigger than that too? So or do they just have small stadiums that people just, there is not enough seats to give people tickets, so that's why it's a longer waiting list. This confuses me.
It's so long that it's common for parents to put their kid's name on the list as soon as they're born. In Watertown, Wisconsin is Utah Street, but the real Utah has the longest section of interstate in the US with no gas stations, 106 miles on I-70. I-70 ends over 2,000 miles away in Baltimore, Maryland, and the entire state of Maryland has 0 natural lakes. It also has this panhandle that reaches a minimum width of 1.8 miles before expanding back out to 30 miles width out near West Virginia, which is definitively a southern state, but also has this panhandle that reaches as far north as New York City and Nebraska. Monowi, Nebraska is the only incorporated municipality in the United States that has a population of 1. The one resident, Elsie Eiler, is mayor and runs the library and tavern, which is granted a liquor license every year by Elsie herself. Tortilla Flat, Arizona is 6 times larger than Monowi since it has 6 residents, and Arizona also has 1/4 of the Four Corners Monument, the only point where 4 states meet in the US. Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico, which as a state, by law, still recognizes Pluto as a planet. New Mexico is typically the last state to vote in presidential.
Alright, I remember hearing that because the guy who named it Pluto, I think. No, I don't think Americans named it Pluto, did they? I think the guy who discovered Pluto is from there. That's why they're like, Pluto's still a planet. I'm pretty sure. And if I'm remembering correctly, somebody named Pluto from Europe. I don't know how that works. An American found Pluto. A European named it Pluto. How does that work? Why didn't American named it? I do kind of. It's a hazy, but I'm pretty sure that's the case.
Primaries, whereas Iowa is usually the first. Iowa is the only state in the US whose eastern and western borders are both water, in this case rivers. The eastern border is the Mississippi River, which happens to be the namesake for Mississippi. The Mississippi River also flowed backwards for a full 24 hours in 2012 during Hurricane Isaac, but the Mississippi doesn't actually reach the ocean in Mississippi. It does so in Louisiana, home to the longest bridge over water in the world at 24 miles. That's so long that for 8 of those miles, you can't even see land on either side. One of the other longest bridges in the US is in North Carolina, the Virginia Dare Memorial Bridge, which carries cars out to Kitty Hawk, where the Wright brothers successfully flew a heavier-than-air aircraft for the first time in history. It was a 12-second, 120-foot flight. That's shorter than the wingspan of a Boeing 747.
Alright, I'm not gonna lie. The first time they flew their plane, I mean, obviously, when you invent something, you're too passionate to see anything else. But I can't stop, thinking that if I were there, I'll be like, okay, nobody has done this. We are the first to do this. Now, how to land this one? There would be a fear in my mind, like, what if we crash and die?
North Carolina's southern neighbor is South Carolina, although South Carolina isn't all that south, since more than half of it is north of North Carolina's southernmost point, and South Carolina also has a town called North, making it North South Carolina. South Carolina was the site of the first Civil War battle, and the Civil War ended up having a total of 1 battle over in Indiana, where the Indy 500 Speedway is, which is so enormous that you could comfortably fit the entire country of the Vatican inside it. It can also fit 400,000 people, which is the highest capacity of any sports arena in the world. Indiana's state beverage is water, while Oregon's is milk. Portland, Oregon is also home to the world's smallest park, according to the Guinness World Records book, Mill End Park. Oregon is also one of the few states to not have a sales tax, along with New Hampshire, the only state to have no law requiring adults to wear seatbelts. Connecticut Lake, in New Hampshire, is the source of the Connecticut River, which is what Connecticut, the state, is named after. Hartford, Connecticut's airport, at less than 3 million passengers per year, is the smallest airport in the US to have a direct flight to Europe. Delaware, on the other hand, certainly doesn't have a direct flight to Europe, since it's the only state that you can't fly to. There's not one commercial flight in or out of this tiny state. It's the second smallest state behind Rhode Island, which is so small that the entire state grows by 3% during low tide. Rhode Island's second largest city, Warwick, shares its name with Warwick, Pennsylvania, and in Pennsylvania is Centralia, where the ground has been on fire since 1962 due to a coal mine fire, and it's expected to burn for over 200 years.
Oh yeah, I remember this. I heard it somewhere that there was a mine fire and it's constantly going on even today. Somebody was mining and somehow ignited something and it's still going on today. Oh shit. That is heavy, man. It's gonna go on for more than 200 years now. Damn.
Pennsylvania borders Minnesota. Well, not really, but Pennsylvania Avenue does intersect Minnesota Avenue in DC, and Minnesota is home to the northernmost point in the lower 48. You see, most of the US-Canada border is defined by the 49th parallel, but a surveying error led to this.
I know this.
The couple hundred residents of this area, called the Northwest Angle, are completely cut off from the US and need to pass into Canada, then back into the United States to go to school. Also in northern Minnesota is Virginia.
I feel like that's a technicality. People can easily, get together and decide that this is now Canada because this is really inconvenient other way.
But Virginia, the state, is massive. So massive that Ewing, Virginia is closer to 8 other state capitals than to its own state capital, Richmond. Alexandria, Virginia is actually closer to Toronto, Canada than it is to Ewing, Virginia. Virginia also happens to go farther west than West Virginia. Virginia is also home to this place, the headquarters of the teaching company who run the Great Courses Plus. And with that super smooth transition, I do have to thank the Great Courses Plus for sponsoring this video. The Great Courses Plus is a subscription video.
he literally said, I'm gonna say things about this state in the last because it's a great transition. That's good actually. Yeah, so something like Washington State, that was surprising. I didn't know there's an actual different state called Washington than Washington DC. Obviously, I knew DC means District of Columbia, but everybody says that's Washington. So that is so somebody said, I live in the state of Washington. Anybody who's not familiar with it outside USA, they must think that he lives somewhere around Washington DC, but no, that's not the case. I mean, USA has 3 time zones, right? Pacific time, I guess, and there's Central time and Eastern time, if I'm not mistaken. So that's 3 time zones. It's really wide, man. There's really different type of, because when you see California and you see New York, you see North Dakota and Texas, looks completely different, man. So yeah, I guess that was interesting. Alright people, if you like my reaction to food, like and subscribe. Check out other reaction I did. There's a link in the description with all of my videos. I guess if you liked it, yeah, check out the other things. There are playlists in the cards, I guess. And I'll see you next time.